Hey guys, it's Mr. Cook, and today I'm going to be showing you a mini lesson on how to build your base 10 blocks using tens and ones, and also comparing these numbers using less than, greater than, or equal to. So I want you to take a look at this first slide that I have right here. What I have here is I have my base 10 block, which as we know has 10 in it. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So these are going to be a lot easier way to show us a group of 10 when we're building our numbers. We also have our ones right next to it, which represent 1. So we know that this number has 1 10 and 3 ones, which would give us the number 13. So in order to do this, we need to actually know how to draw our tens and ones. There's actually 3 different ways that we're going to allow you guys to draw your tens. The first one is going to look like this, a normal 10 block showing that you have 10 pieces. Now, that might be a little difficult in the beginning, so we can also accept a 10 block with no lines, or a line as long as we can tell that it's big enough to represent a 10 block. Now, that's how we are going to allow you to draw your tens. The next one that we're going to do is showing you how to draw your ones, and we're only going to allow one way for this. You have to draw squares to represent a 1 block. So that would represent 1. So you need to have and make sure all of your ones look the same. Now when we move on to show you how to actually build these numbers, one big thing that I show my kids in my class is I always draw a line right down the middle of this number, almost to make it look like a little T. I'm going to draw a T on this side to represent my tens, and I'm going to draw an O on this side to represent my ones. So I know that in this number, I have 3 tens, so I'm going to draw 3 tens on this side, and I'm going to use this method. And then I have 2 ones, so I'm going to show 2 ones. Now this is how you're going to build using your base 10 blocks to represent each number. Now for the number 32, I also want to show you another way how to do this, because right now I also have the number 30, which looks like this, and I'm also adding the 2 ones together to make the number 32. So moving on, we're going to go down to the number 47. This one we're going to do the same exact thing. I want to break this up into tens and ones. So I'm going to draw my little chart that I did on the first one, my little T. I put a T above this one to make sure I know that this is the tens place. I put an O above this one to make sure I know I have the ones place. So for this one, I've got 4 tens and 7 ones. So I'm going to build that. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I need to show 7 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now just like up top, right up here, I want to show another form of how to do it. So my tens, they equal 40. So if I count up these, I've got 10, 20, 30, 40. So that shows me 40. And then I also have 7 ones right over here. So that's going to be 40 plus 7, which is the same exact way as showing the number 47. Now this last one here, until we move on to comparing these numbers, we do the same exact thing. Remember, draw your chart. Show that these are going to be your tens place. This is going to be your ones place. You have 2 tens to show 20. And you have 5 ones to show 5. And notice how I'm trying to keep everything nice and neat and right next to each other, so it makes it easier for me at the end to count up everything. So I've got the number 10, 20, and I have the number 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we're adding 5 to that. This is actually 3 ways on how we can do it. We have our first way of showing the number like this. I have my 10 blocks, and I also have expanded forms showing me what is actually going on with those big numbers that I have right there. So we're going to move on to how you're going to compare these numbers using the less than, the greater than, and the equal to sign on those ones. Now, one thing that I will always think of when teaching this lesson is that when you have these symbols right here, one little trick, this part is always going to open towards the bigger number, no matter what. But I'm going to show you how we're going to do that in a minute. So I've got less than, I've got my greater than, and I have my equal to. So let's practice that a little bit. I'm going to show you two numbers and we're going to compare them together. So what if I have the number 15 and I want to compare it to the number 22? Now, one thing that I want to have happen right now is I want to build both of these numbers. So I'm going to build the number 15. And remember that little T-chart that I showed you? Tens and ones, tens and ones. I'm going to draw the number 15 first. So I have one 10, and I have 5 ones. I have the number 22, which has 2 tens and 2 ones. Now, when comparing numbers like this, boys and girls, I want you to first look at your tens place. This one has 1 10, and this one has 2 tens. So right there, I can see that this number is definitely going to be bigger because it has 2 tens in the tens place, and this number over here only has 1 10 in the tens place. So in order to show that, I'm going to write down this. 15 is less than 22. Because I showed my work up here, and I showed that my tens in the number 22 had more than the number 15, so I could see it right there. Now we're going to move on to the next one to show you what would happen if you have the same amount of tens. What would you do next? So I'm going to get rid of all this. And let's do one more. So let's say I have the number 31, and I want to compare it to the number 35. Draw my little T-chart, tens and ones. This one's going to have 3 tens and 1 1. This one's going to have 3 tens and 5 ones. So when I go to compare these numbers, I want to see which one is bigger. So I have 1, 2, 3 tens over here. So I want to compare the tens over to my other number. 1, 2, 3. So they both have 3 tens. Now I need to look at the ones place to see which one has the most. I look back over at the number 31, and I can see it only has 1 1 in its ones place. If I look at the number 35, I can see that it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ones in the ones place. So this one is going to have more. So remember what I told you. The sign is always going to open up to your bigger number. So when I have the number 31, I'm going to write 31 is less than 35. Now the last one that we have, or let's do 2 more because I want to see a greater than sign as well. So if I showed the number, let's say 12, and I had the number 10 over on this side. I'm going to build this number here. So 12, remember, little T-chart, tens and ones, tens and ones. The number 12 has 1 10, 2 ones. The number 10 has 1 10 and 0 ones. So right now I can tell that both of these have 1 10, but the number 12 also has 2 ones. So I know that this one's going to be my bigger number. When I write this down, I'm going to say 10 is greater than, or I'm sorry, 12 is greater than 10. Now remember, that sign is always opening up to the bigger number. The last one that I want to show you is your equal sign. So let's say we have the number 21 and 21. If I build both of these with my tens and ones, use my base 10 blocks, I've got 2 tens and 1 1. I've got 2 tens and 1 1. Now I can see that if I match them up, they both have 2 tens, they both have 1 1. So for this equation, it's going to be 21 is equal to 21 because they have the same value. Think of the beginning of the year when we worked on balancing equations. Now for your work today, you're going to have something that looks like this. In order to do this, you need to look at your less than, greater than, or equal to sign. Use another piece of scrap paper if you need to build the numbers, but remember, always look at the tens place first, and then look at the ones when you're comparing them. And remember, the sign is always going to open up to the bigger number. All right, boys and girls, good luck.